this was probably a forklift or whatever they used to unload. So this tells a story. This also happens to be 1.25 inch thick plywood. It's going to pour a 1/4 inch thick 3-part clear epoxy.
Okay.
Okay, and that's going to be rock solid.
They wanted to have a concrete floor, they could pull this all up. And
Yeah, what we would do is we'd pull up this wood and we'd leave that steel in place.
Yeah.
That steel is a lot stronger than just rebar as it is.
Okay.
We would tack weld rebar to this steel and then we would just pour concrete right in place.
Okay.
It's so much easier to cut all this out and just frame than it is to precision plasma weld. It'd be easier just to take the plasma cutters, cut it all. We can probably cut 3 containers a day. If you have to get into complex engineering, okay, then that drives up your costs. I mean, that's even before you build, and then you've got to set costs for what you think you've engineered correctly, and then you think you know the best way to do it, and you get into it like, what? Well, this is a 45-foot long container.
Okay.
Exterior dimensions are 8 foot wide, and then 9 foot 6 inches tall. Those are 40s right there, and then you could also get 20s. You can get 53s. You can get several different sizes, but the typical sizes that are efficient, that are basically efficient to buy, are 45s and 40s.
Okay. How wide can you go?
As far as you want.
As far as you want. And then can you do it with no columns?
No. Well, you can, but you would just need an exterior support. So basically what you would do is to carry the weight of this roof, if you weren't putting anything on top, because what we do is when we stack them, you see that 5.5 inch I-beam at the bottom?
Yes.
So we'll weld this piece to that 5-inch I-beam, and that'll give us plenty of structural strength to keep this ceiling level. We would then need to weld something to the exterior of the container to then hold the ceiling from above.
So if you were to do, let's just say we were going to do 3 wide of the 40, so that we have about 20 foot by 40 foot, 40.
24
Yep.
by 40.
Yeah, we're in that range there. What kind of thing can we build above? Can we build a whole nother floor above?
Oh yeah, of course.
Or could you do a roof garden above?
Of course, yeah.
Anything like
You would
that?
just have to frame it accordingly
Frame
for
it.
whatever load is going to be
Okay.
up there, yeah. Just like you would in conventional framing. However, we have the ability to reuse the steel that's already in place. I mean, so this container right here to get delivered to Cape Girardeau from our supplier in St. Louis was $2,400. If you were to frame this with the same structural integrity out of wood, you're looking at $26 grand. We don't need to put siding on this. We don't need to put a roof on this. This is ready to go. These shipping containers are made out of the same stuff that bridge steel is made out of. But then these are actually going to be safety glass windows on the bottom, and those safety glass windows right here. The total window right here is going to be 7 foot 2 inches by 8 foot 8 inches. So we're going to have huge windows. 7 foot 8 inside to inside. Because you've got 2 inches of corrugation that run all the way down.
The pallets then. Okay, so make them fit. Okay.
Yeah. And so basically we cut out the ceilings, we cut out the floors, we cut out a lot of different stuff, and we stack them on top of each other, weld them together so they're structurally strong. And then what we do is we take 2x4s and we frame interior walls in here, which is where we'll insulate, run the plumbing, run the electrical.
This type of a setting. But this is different buildings, but this is the lower level, and down below here is basement. This is all basement here, underneath the ground here.
Is this like a
Slab on
walk in, walk out?
Yes, it's it's a walkout, 20 by 40.
Okay.
So, you know, that fits real well with the size of your units.
Yeah, we could do, so there's a couple different things you could do. You could do 45 by 16 and end up roughly, now you'd be about 40 to 60 square foot less.
Well,
than,
I think it would be nice to do 3.
3, so then you could do 24 by 40 or 24 by 45 or.
Yeah, I think we would rather go a little bigger than a little bit smaller for those classrooms.
He says there's nothing above this but roof. Doing an exterior structure to then hold that ceiling in place would be very, very easy.
I believe that we're at a point where we still have flexibility in design. That, you know, if a particular type of material says, you know, Amy, you're going to have to drop the ceiling down by 2 feet to make this work because it's beneficial, and can we make it possible? I think we have that flexibility.
We could take this project from start to finish if that's something that helps. We could be the general contractor if you need that to be done. I have great working relationships with just about everybody that you would need to get this done.
All the materials? Okay.
The only thing I would need is I would need to bring in a larger electrician. But you could essentially unleash small teams, like one team's in charge of the greenhouse and one team's in charge of the auditorium. You could do that.
So are you used to working with full architectural engineering drawings?
We could, yeah. We're doing the process of developing a 4-story apartment building. So that'd be the biggest thing I've ever built.
Let's just say this piece right here out of shipping containers. Would you be willing to work on one piece of the building?
Oh yeah, of course. So all we would need to do is just actually get a design done. Okay. Then we need to figure out I'm going to know what the containers are going to weigh.
Okay.
And I'm going to know all that stuff. So we're going to be able to do that foundation independent of everything else. But we're going to need to know what the roof structure is going to weigh, and we're going to need to know if any of these surrounding, because I know this is all on one level, and this is. We're going to need to know like what loads are put on the adjoining structure.
Okay.
Okay. And so we're going to need to know how much weight and how much lateral pressure that the roof might generate in terms of wind load.
Okay.
And then we can fit seamlessly really into whatever it is.
Just say you put up the shell and make sure that the foundation is all in place, and then another team comes in and does all the stud walls and things like that.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. We've got 6 sets of plans that we want done in 2 years. I need to make sure that we can free up time.
Right.
So the soonest I know when we would be within a month or so, we're going to need to get you a finished price per square foot. You know, what I would want to do is for me to be able to do this, I would want to figure out, we would want to do everything including the roof supports. And then we would also want to know how this roof is designed, so that way we make sure that the foundation and the containers themselves would be able to withstand that.
But
in these walls, and that would carry the load of the ceiling so think of it as carrying the load as opposed to supporting the load. Suspension.
we would have this.
Well, this would be your ceiling. This is actually.
But if we're sloping up, so if we're going.
Oh, you
up,
want everything to be open then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we just want this to be a one big wide open space.
I think you're going to be better off just doing that differently, because rather than put a container and then having to build a wall on top of it to meet up with this roof line, I think you're going to be better off just carrying that wall directly down into the foundation, because the way this is set up, yes, we can carry hundreds of thousands of pounds of load on that.
Okay.
But the issue that we're going to run into is we're going to run into different materials, okay, expanding, contracting, not necessarily at the same rate.
So what about this window that you have here?
Yeah, see.
Because this is what we're talking about at this end down here. Is all glass at one end. So, you know, for instance, maybe what's more efficient is to stack them on top of each other. So let's say we have 2 high, and we stack them that length all the way across. We have a solid wall here, and we have glass on one end.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. We could do something very similar to this. I mean, right next to each other. The only problem with that is you're not going to have. You're only going to have about 9 foot 2 inches of ceiling height.
But it will have if we have 2 open.
If you have 2 open, you can do that.
And we'll have this coming across every 8 feet.
For structural, yeah. It'd be
Okay,
better if
that's
you
what I'm
did.
just
That's
understanding. And what if we would want to go with a one use container for the exterior look of the container?
Well, let me show you this, and I think you guys might like this, because I think all of a sudden we're thinking quite a bit alike.